You think he can be a better receiver on a high volume team, even as a number 3?
But this is also why I struggle with hearing you say AJ's lost a step. Like, for example, we just talked about the Rams, and we talked about Stafford, and we talked about Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams and that team. If AJ Brown was on that team, the way they get receivers the ball, the way they scheme them open, I know you hate that term, but Sean does do a good job of it. The way Stafford,
that term.
no, but you think it's a little over, which I actually agree with.
Overrated.
I think you're right. It is overrated. Let's get to some super chats here right now. Vitality says, the AJ Jalen stuff isn't going away. Thank you, DJax. Tea leaves say their personal relationship is strained, hard to remedy when your work relationship is also strained. This is life. We're all human.
All right, got to read that again. AJ Jalen isn't going away. Thanks, DJax. Yeah, DJ. Come on, you're a head coach now, DeSean. Stop throwing bombs. Yeah, I mean, I've talked about that a lot. You know, there are different stages of their lives, so that's how I compared it. You know, and I think it's a good. People can relate to it in their own lives. You got your buddies, and then you get married, or you have kids, and you don't have as much time, and you grow apart. That's basically what it is. Now, if DeSean has information on some kind of personal issue that sped that up, I don't have that. I guess it's possible, but hey,
I'm not a fan of speculating on that type of shit either. Like, I have no clue if they're
not Rona Barrett. Don't know.
Yeah, and I also don't really care. I just care about how it's impacted the football field. I mean, if AJ and Jalen don't like each other, so be it. Here's Terrence. What's up, Terrence? Jalen probably lost respect for AJ. He keeps going to the media, and based on Hurts' personality, he probably don't respect that. Just because AJ is the only one talking don't mean he is right.
He ain't the only one talking about that offense, number one.
I'm of the impression that all of them hate the offense, including the offensive line. I could be wrong, but that's my.
No, I wouldn't say that. The offensive line loves running the football, so
well, they don't run the ball.
I wouldn't say that. Yeah, but they like doing it. That's just the nature of playing offensive line. You're hitting people instead of getting hit all day, so they like it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Saquon, obviously likes it. So not everybody, but the receivers, nobody likes it. Nobody likes it. Why would they like it? I mean, and that includes lesser, Jahan Dotson. I mean, Jahan makes plays when he gets the rare opportunity. You think he can be a better receiver on a high volume team, even as a number 3?
But this is also why I struggle with hearing you say AJ's lost a step. Like, for example, we just talked about the Rams, and we talked about Stafford, and we talked about Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams and that team. If AJ Brown was on that team, the way they get receivers the ball, the way they scheme them open, I know you hate that term, but Sean does do a good job of it. The way Stafford,
that term.
No, but you think it's a little over, which I actually agree with. I think you're right. It is overrated. But Stafford gets the ball to those guys. McVay has a great offensive scheme that relies on receivers getting the ball. Like, would AJ have lost a step if he was in a system like that? I have a hard time believing that.
Well, I mean, AJ put up numbers in this offense, but he's not putting up numbers in this offense now. He put up numbers in this offense last season. He's not putting up numbers in this. That's why I think it's something physical related. Or I would say, or I not think is the right word. Hope, I would think. Hope is the proper, because otherwise you lost a step, and previous injuries, like the knee most specifically, which was more serious than people realized, because they tried to hide it, has taken something from him. And that's the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario, he's just not the same guy. That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah, but you also, John, you made a comment on this show about 20 minutes ago when we talked about George Pickens, and you said explosive, but
young man's game, man.
In Pittsburgh, though, you were like, yeah, they only used him on go routes. They didn't really use him right. That's kind of how I feel like they're doing with AJ. They're not using him right.
Well,
Again,
there's
that's not to say
sometimes.
you can turn the clock back and to be 25 years old again, but he's 28. He's
Well,
not 32.
but now we have hindsight where he's being. Now there's some guys you can only use that way because all they can do is run, and they're not good route runners, and they're not. And the perception is, how do you know? How do you know until it's tried? Well, they didn't try it in Pittsburgh, so I think it's fair to say that they didn't utilize him to the degree they should have utilized him to. Part of that is the quarterback issue. They've been dealing with quarterbacks, and they didn't have Aaron Rodgers last year. And they had struggles at that post Ben Roethlisberger the entire time Pickens was there. So part of it is the issues they had there. And certainly some of it was they didn't use him correctly. Now that you see him in an offense with a high volume passer who can do some different things and get him the football in different ways, and then CD Lamb gets hurt. Same thing with Micah Parsons early in his career. They didn't want to use him as an edge rusher.
Yeah, right.
And then you're in Schitt's Creek, and he's our best option. Let's see if he can do it. And he does it, and all of a sudden you got something. So, I say that about George Pickens because they've done it, and he's demonstrated he can do it. And it is not, and this is going to shock people because we all say, it's almost become a default setting. It's Chase, it's Jefferson, it's AJ. Well, the best receivers in the NFL this year, in my opinion, are Jackson Smith and Jigba.
100%. He's a stud, that kid.
Puka.
Yep.
And George Pickens. Those are the three best receivers in the NFL so far this season. That's how good George Pickens has been. And by the way, if you look at, playing time in Jigba, 455, and Puka 399, he's been hurt. George Pickens has been out there for 572 reps because CD was out for a while. I don't think people realize how good that guy's playing. I have an all-pro vote. He's going to be on my second team all-pro team right now. Now, a lot of football to play, but my first team would be Smith and Jigba and Puka. But my second team is George Pickens, and then probably I'll lean on Chase because he's so gifted. But just this year that we're talking about this year and not talking about reputation. And
yeah. Well, who else is in that combo then? If you're going just this year, Drake London.
Yeah, he'd be in the conversation. He's had a great season. Bad team hurts him, but he's had a great season.
Team, but I think he's got already.
Yeah,
he's playing really well.
He's definitely in the conversation. And part of it, with AJ is the style, and part of it with Jefferson is the quarterback. Believe me, if Jefferson had a quarterback, he'd be an all-pro, but he doesn't. That's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah, right.
So keep an eye. That's going to be it's going to be interesting to see what Vic does with Quignon because you got two to deal with this week. My presumption is he's going to put him on Pickens, so that's going to be a hell of a matchup because the CD goes in the slot so much anyway. So it'll be easier for him to travel with Pickens. That might be one of the funnest matchups of the year because that dude is gifted and Quignon is gifted.
Well, yeah, it's going to be interesting. All right, John, let's get into the wait, we got a couple more super chats. Good commentary all around today. Here's Dirty D. What's up, Dirty D? Member for 15 months. That's a lot of time, man. Thank you, bro. I appreciate your support. He says people sleeping on Dallas are delusional. They have a top offense, and their defense is getting better. Dak owns us in Dallas, and it's a must-win game for them. I expect a loss Sunday. I hope not, but I wouldn't be shocked if we do.
Yeah, well, I definitely wouldn't be shocked, and it is a much more needed game for Dallas, so they have the desperation card. But overall, the Eagles are the better team, so it would not surprise me if the Eagles won either. But if they do lose to Dallas and Dallas, yeah, it would not shock me at all.
How much better are the Eagles? You say they're a better team. I mean, this offense has struggled. We talked about them at the open, that they've maybe regressed to some extent, all around almost. Defense is ascending, and we're going to get into this next. But, remember, their two best games have been the last two games, and the weather was kind of a factor in those games, as we've talked about maybe why the offense has struggled in those two games. How much better are the Eagles than the Cowboys?
Yeah, it's still pretty significantly. I mean, the Cowboys, it's all sort of like optimism because they brought in some new players. And maybe next year it is because the one Quinnen is phenomenal. I mean, he's going to be a good player for them. I don't know why. Who knows why the Jets do what they do. But that's a big time player. So, but Logan Wilson's like, all right, well, he's athletic and, you got to see Overshown, like I said, Rebel. These are all unproven commodities coming back from injuries. So there's some optimism there, but there's not, proven performance by any stretch of the imagination. So, whereas the Eagles, obviously defensively, they're out there every week doing it, and it's getting better and better. And that's the history of Vic Fangio. It gets better as it goes along.
Exactly right.
And it's going to get better. And Makuba's getting better. Some of the weaknesses are getting better. Makuba's getting better. Dory's getting better as they learn the scheme. So, and then offensively, again, for as much as we shit on this offense, and sometimes I get tired of it, they do have the knack for making big plays and big moments. And they do have the card to pull with the quarterback. You saw it a little bit last week with the quarterback draws. Like, it's almost like because you haven't done it, now it's back to being a surprise and off, book. And people think you aren't going to do it, and then all of a sudden you pull it out, and it's very effective. So the offense is as bad as it seems from an expectation standpoint. I don't think it's as bad as people think it really is because of those expectations. They still have a knack for, and again, the red zone. Ironically, I think they're far more creative this year doing stuff, but the success hasn't been there. So they're so uncreative. It's
the amount of times they get to the red zone is one of the lowest in the NFL.
Yeah, but when they get there, and that's when KP says it, people get frustrated. And I asked Jalen that question, because he keeps saying, hey, when we're on schedule, we're pretty good. And it's true, but they're not on schedule enough. And a lot of things come into that, and I tried to hone down the pre-snap penalty stuff is obvious. You got to clean that up. That's obvious. Takes no talent, as Nick Sirianni would say. That's obvious.
Yeah.
But the negative plays execution-wise, that's been the issue to me. And, how do you go about fixing them? And I asked Jalen that, and he gave a long answer. A lot of word salad involved there. But that's the issue. That's what they got to clean up. And how do you clean that up? Well, they're trying.
They're trying. There's no doubt. And you're right, because if they fix some of that stuff, then I think the 3-and-out number goes down significantly and all those things start to click a little bit better. John, you talked about, real quick, I'll just give you guys the number as I just pointed it out. Eagles are number one team in the red zone this year still with 75%. Washington is number 2, Indianapolis number 3, Green Bay number 4, Buffalo number 5, Eagles sitting at 75%. But in my opinion, here's the kicker. In red zone attempts per game, Rams are 1, Indianapolis is 2. Eagles are 30th in the NFL in front of only the New York Jets and the Tennessee Titans with 2.4 attempts per game in the red zone. So, again, they're good in the red zone, but that is, You don't want to be with the Jets and the Titans and anything. Okay.
No, I mean, but that's the point. Like they
Yeah.
lead they're a very weird team. They
Yeah.
lead the NFL in 3 and outs, and they also lead the NFL in red zone offense. Like who does that?
I don't know. I don't know who does that.
Like if you're bad, you're bad.
Well,
They're not bad.
Similar. They're 28th in attempts at 2.5, and they're second in converting down there with 72%. 71%.
Well, a lot of it is the run game and the quarterback run game. Like that's what makes the Eagle and not even the actual run game, the threat of the run. Like that makes you such a better team in the red zone. Because everything's condensed.
Yeah, right. It opens it up obviously a lot.
So that to me, that the Eagles have always been a good red zone team with Jalen Hurts and always will be. As long as he's got his athleticism and ability to do that. That's why they're so good in the red zone, because of the threat of the quarterback run game.
Yeah, good stuff. Dirty D, thanks for the chat, brother. Appreciate you being a member. Here's Dank Bird Gang. What's up, Dank? How you doing, my man? Appreciate you, Dank. Dank's one of our best here. He says, have you seen that we're a companion team with the Bears? We've beaten all of their division rivals, and the Bears have beaten all of our rivals. I saw that, Dank.
Well, no, because the NFC North is better than the NFC East. So, when the Eagles beat the Packers and the Lions, and even the Vikings, I can't count the Vikings anymore, but when they beat the Packers and Lions, it's more relevant than beating the Giants and the Commanders.
Yeah.
So, no, I wouldn't put it.
I think just in a vacuum, though. They beat all the NFC teams. We beat all the NFC teams.
I'd rather play the NFC.
It's not as valuable for us as it is for the Bears. To your point. Yeah. Good point, John. All right, here's Pumper. What's up, Pump? What's a show without a Pumper comment? He says it's going to be Shorty.
It's going to be shitting on Jalen Hurts, I assume.
It's going to be Shorty who got in between JH and Arthur. They probably got the same side chick. Either way, get these dudes off my team.
Yeah, well, that's the Rona Barrett. I'm not talking about. Come on.
That is where people go. I'm not going there. Papa Smurf says, what would this offense look like with Smitty, Dotson, and Cooper, and would it change? It's a fair question. They're already pretty low, Papa Smurf. How much worse can it get?
You're saying play Smitty, Dotson, and Darius Cooper?
I'm saying if A.J. Brown left the team, if he was traded in the offseason.
Oh, I see. They better get something more than that. Yeah, they got to get something more than that.
Yeah, but they don't rely
Smitty's fine. Smitty's fine, obviously.
Yeah.
But you prefer to have Smitty and AJ from 2022, 2023, and 2024, which is difficult to do. But yeah, I mean, for many years, remember what this team was like before. Does anybody have a memory that long? Before they drafted Devontae and got AJ. Remember how bad they were at receiver?
Yeah, I remember. Don't you worry. I remember.
I mean, I think Jahan's a pretty good player. Like Darius Cooper's, hey, you hope, cross your finger, a long way away. Long way away. Jahan can play a little bit, but he's going to go somewhere anyway where he has an opportunity. Now, if they trade AJ, and like I said, I lean towards he's not going to be back next year unless things change dramatically. But if they go in a different direction, maybe they consider Jahan. I don't know if they can sell that to people, but I think they'd want something more proven. But yeah, you can't just, if you're going to lose AJ, you got to get something. You're not going to replace what he was from 22 to 24, but you got to get something.
No doubt. Good stuff, Papa Smurf. Appreciate all the super chats today. All right, guys.
You're also losing Goddard, I should say, as well. I can't see him being back, so remember that.
Goddard could be gone. AJ could be gone, potentially. Lane Johnson, potentially. Guess that's something to consider.
Well, you got to start paying those defensive guys, man.
Well, yeah. Jalen Phillips. You paying Jalen Phillips? I am. I know it's only
I
two
am
games.
after 2 games. It's only 2 games, though.
Oh,
You don't
good.
have to make that decision. But if he continues to play anywhere near the level he's played in the first 2 games, yeah, it's a
What's he
no-brainer.
getting if he does? Let's just assume he plays like he has the last 2 games.
Significant
28.
money.
I think 28 mil.
I don't think it's that high, but significant because of the injuries. I think it lowers it a little bit, but well over 20. Significant money.
Blaze, one more. Welcome to McDonald's, Rager and Umbrella Boy. I remember. Yeah, that was brutal. Please, Blaze, don't remind me of that shit. All right, John, let's move into some other topics here. Thanks, everybody, for the super chats today. John, I want to talk about the Eagles' defense. All right, they have really come alive in recent weeks. Really have played their best 2 games the last 2 weeks versus 2 of the best offenses in football in the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. Eagles' defense deserves a lot of credit for that. Dominant D, John, or too early to tell?
A little bit too early to tell, but I think, as I said, the history of Vic Fangio everywhere is they get better as the season goes on. And I expect that to continue. Now, I do think the last 2 weeks, a little bit of an outlier. You can't just perform at that level for consistent 17 weeks in general, but you see the ceiling and the weather played a part of it. Because remember, the Green Bay defense looked pretty good and the Detroit defense looked pretty good. So there's something to the weather impacting those games. This is a big one because it's going to be a pristine environment, big time offense. I just talked glowingly about George Pickens.
Yeah.
CD's back playing at a high level. Quarterback, high volume thrower, good running game, which
Quarterback's playing at a
surprised
high
me.
level too. Not only is he a high volume thrower, but he's
Yeah,
playing well.
playing at a high level. Good tight end, which has been missing over the past couple of weeks, although he's not nearly as explosive as those guys, Kraft and Laporta, who were out. So if they go in there and have a great defensive game against Dallas on the road, yeah, then I'm fueling up the hype train. I think it's going to be a little bit of a step back, but they're a good defense. I don't think there's any question about that now. They're a good defense, and they're getting better. Jalen Carter's getting healthier. Jalen Hunt is turning it on now that he gets to sort of not be counted on and, can
Remember, he missed
relax a
the
little
first
bit.
Cowboy game too. I wonder if he's got a little bit of an extra juice for this game because he, obviously missed that first Cowboy game with the incident with the spitting and all that crap.
Yeah. Well, Carter, I mean, I don't worry about Carter. It's just a matter of how big the impact is on a week. But to Hunt's point, he's gotten much better since Jalen Phillips has gotten here. I don't think that's a coincidence at all. And then, like I said, I can't say enough good things about Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. And the linebackers. I mean, I think, Zach Bond is just, man, he's consistent.
Yeah.
And again, last year was so spectacular from a splash play aspect, but he's just a good football player, Zach Bond. And I think everybody's seen what N'Kobe has added from a physicality, football intelligence standpoint. And then career years from Moro Ojomo, career year from Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis, player of the week, defensive player of the week. He was special teams player of the week early. First Eagle ever to win both those awards in the same season. Yeah, they got a lot. They got a lot of guys they got to pay. They got to pay Jordan Davis. Now, they're going to pay Quinyon down the road. They got to pay Cooper. They got to pay.
Yeah, and how much is Cooper and Quinyon's price going up if both of those guys land on the All-Pro team this year?
Phillips, Jalen Carter. Yeah, the reckoning is coming.
Oh,
for
it's
that
coming.
offense.
It is freaking coming.